Azure Pipelines is a great tool for doing continuous integration and continuous deployment. And thanks to multi-stage pipelines, we finally have build, test, and release together expressed like source code. Recently, they've also introduced the concept of environments, which belong to the release process. So the question is, why should I use an environment for deploying my applications? Let's discover that together. Hello everyone, and welcome back to CoderDave. This video is the first in a short series of video regarding environments in Azure DevOps. Before we start, take a moment to subscribe to this channel using the button below and enable the notifications so you will not miss the next video I'll post. Today we're going to have an introduction to Azure DevOps Environments and why use them in the context of Azure Pipelines. Environments basically represent a group of resources for Azure Pipelines and allow you to map your physical or virtual environments like development, production, QA, etc. into Azure DevOps. And while environments are the group of resources, the resources themselves represent actual deployment targets for your pipelines. At the time of recording this video, only two types of resources are available to use in environments: Kubernetes clusters and virtual machines. Other kind of resources like databases and Azure Web App are still in development and will come soon. So asking that again, why should I use environments for my deployments? Well, first of all, they unlock a bunch of new capabilities. You have traceability of commits and work items. You have deployment history down to the single resource. You have deeper diagnostics, approvals, and checks. Additionally, when you target an environment from your pipelines, you don't have to specify the service connection for your resources, because automatically pipelines consume the service connection defined in that environment. So let's see how to create and manage your environments. Here we are in Azure DevOps portal. As you can see, I'm in pipelines and environments. And this is where you manage and create your environments. If you see in the central panel, I already have two environments. Let's forget about this for the time being. And let's see, we have this development. So how to create a new environment? There is this button here on the right called New Environment. And if you click it, you can specify a name. Let's call it staging, for example. You can also set a description, and you can select the type of resources that you want to add to your environment. Since this video is just an introduction, let's forget about the resources. We will go in depth into resources in next videos. And when you're done, just click on Create. And voila, your environment is created with the name and the description you've chosen. So let's go back here, and now you see we have these two environments that we already have before, but we also have the staging environment, and of course it says we've never deployed to it. So how to actually use an environment? Let's go back to pipelines, and let's see this pipeline, which is the one I created for this demo. If we take a look at the pipeline, we see that we have a CI stage, which has a normal job, and then we have a continuous deployment stage, which instead has a deployment job. And as you can see here, one of the parameters of the deployment job is actually the environment. And in my case, I choose development because it's the one I used before, but let's go ahead and change this to staging. And let's see what happens. So let's save and run the pipeline. All right, the CI stage is completed. Let's take a look at the CD stage. All right, so also the CD stage is completed. Let's go back to our environments. And now we see that the staging environment here actually has a deployment in it. As you can see, it's very easy creating an environment and using one. But what if we go in the pipeline and we try to specify an environment which doesn't exist? Let's change this, for example, to test. Let's save and let's go back to environments. You see here, pipelines automatically created for us an environment with the same name we used. So this is pretty handy when you go for development environments or test environments. So you don't actually go here and all the time and create new environments. even though I would say it's kind of preferred. But you can delegate your Azure pipelines to do that for you. You also have to be careful because if you misspell an environment, then Azure Pipelines will create a new environment for you directly. And notice that I didn't have to run the pipeline for the environment to be created. As soon as I saved the YAML, which basically is committing it to our repository, the environment has been created. One question usually people ask is, why should I use an environment if maybe I'm not using any Kubernetes or virtual machine? Because as I said before, and as we've seen, for the time being, only Kubernetes cluster and virtual machine are supported. So for example, I'm deploying to Azure Web App. Why should I use environments? Well, because even though you're not using resources, it still enables you to have full traceability and deployment history. In fact, if I go in development here, I can see what is the status of my deployments for this environment. In my case, I only have one job here, which is the deployment job, and I deployed twice. But the beauty of this is that if I have another pipeline which deploys to the same environment, I can see here the list of pipelines, the list of changes, and everything that has been deployed to this environment. Also, if I go inside to a single deployment, I can always take a look not only at the jobs that compose that deployment, but also the changes that were included in that deployment down to the single work items. And this is what I was saying before, that enables you full traceability of commits and work items, provided of course you link your work items to your commits into your source control. Environments are also the way multi-stage YAML pipelines handle approvals. In fact, if you're familiar with classic pipelines, you know that you can set up pre- and post-deployment approvals directly in the designer. But for multi-stage pipelines, you're not allowed to specify approvals and check directly in the YAML file. And this is for security. We don't want anyone to be able to remove or modify those approval and checks when they modify the pipeline. Let's take a look at this. We're back at our development environments. And let's say we want to add some approvals and checks to it. First thing to do is go into this button here and select approvals and checks. And here I have the full list of what is supported at the moment. We have approvals, which means that someone should actually click on some button to approve the progress of that deployment. Evaluate artifact, which is still in preview and at the moment works only with container images, and basically ensure you that the artifacts you're using adhere to custom policies you can specify. For example, in the case of container images, you can specify they have to inherit from a specific base image and something like that. Azure function or invoke a REST API. They are fairly similar, they just have a different target. As part of your pipeline, you can decide to invoke Azure function to do some external work, or some REST API, for example, if you want to validate your deployment. You can also query Azure Monitor Alerts, and this is pretty useful because then you can monitor directly, you can check if you have any alerts, if you have any failure and something like that. Last but not least, and this is one of the new additions, you can require all your pipelines to extend one or more YAML templates. This is, for example, useful when you want to be sure that all the deployments in your organizations respect the same kind of structure and parameters. You can define one or more templates and your pipeline will not deploy unless it extends one of those templates. Let's take a look more in depth at the approvals. What I can do in here is add some approvers from the users I defined in my Azure DevOps. And let's say I add here 2. I can also specify some instruction and some advanced options. For example, which is the minimum number of approvals required. I specify 2 people in this case, so I can either select all or 1, meaning that at least 1 must approve. But if I add 1 more user here and I go back here, I can see that now I also have 2, which is basically the number of approver minus 1. And you can specify anything from 1 to all as required. Also, you can require the approvers to approve in sequence, and it's based on the order of the names you put in that box. And also, to allow approvers to approve their own runs, which means that I can approve the pipeline I just requested. If you want to be even more secure, you can disable this, so a user that initiates a pipeline will not be able to approve it, and I think this is the behavior you should look for. Easy, right? Let's now take a look at the invoke REST API. You can specify a connection type, which can be generic or Azure Resource Manager. And this is because you may have passwords, you may have secrets and keys that you need to use for invoking your REST API. So you're not allowed to put them here. You put instead in the service connection, so you will also be able to reuse those. You can of course change the method. All the normal HTTP methods are supported. And then you can specify headers, body, suffix, and parameters. If we go to the advanced, I can also decide what the completion event should be, if it's a callback or an API response. And I can specify some criteria to define when to consider this request successful. If you do not put anything, as long as the API responds, this will be considered success. Or if you want to check for some specific pattern in your API response, then you specify it here. Let's talk now for a minute about security, user permissions and pipelines permissions. With user permissions, you can control who can use, view, create and manage your environments. And there are 4 roles: creator, reader, user, and administrator. If you create your environments within the YAML files, or basically you allow Azure Pipelines to create the environments for you, all the contributors and administrators in your team project will be granted the administrator for that environment. And this is normally used for dev and test environments. But if you create your environments within the UI, only the creator user will be granted the administrator. So the security is a little bit tighter. And this in fact is the recommended approach for production environments. Permission pipelines instead can be used to authorize all or only selected pipelines to use a specific environment for deployments. So let's take a quick look at this. We are back at our environment page and we talk about security. As you can see here, if you hit security at the environment page, where all the environments are defined for this particular team project, you only have the user permission tab. You can see that you can specify users or groups, specific roles, and what kind of assignment. I can also add a new user or group, of course, and decide what kind of role I want for that user. If instead I go back and I go to a specific environment, and again, I go to security, now I can see that I have both user permission and pipeline permissions. User permissions work exactly the same, with the difference that the access type could be inherited, which means that it depends from the macro category, or assigned directly from here. If we scroll down to the pipeline permission, you can see here that this is currently non-restricted, which means that every pipeline may use this environment. If I want to restrict this to a specific pipeline, I will click on restrict permission, and now no pipeline is actually permitted, which means that I manually need to add a specific pipeline from here to use this. For example, if I want only the newer pipeline I created, the pipeline with environment from UI, then I'll enable it, and this and only this pipeline will be able to use this environment. Of course, I can always revert this and open the access, and this of course will allow all the pipelines in this project to use this environment. Open access, and again, you can see here, there's no restrictions. So this is how you secure your environments either at user level or at pipeline level. All right, I think is enough for today. In the next videos, I will talk more about specific resources you can use inside your environments, like for example, Kubernetes clusters, and the advantages you have using them. Be sure to enable the notifications using the small bell button below, so you will not miss the next video of the series. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much for joining me today, and see you soon at CoderDave.